Untap Upkeep, and welcome back to the channel. If you've been here before, and if you haven't been here before, then please sit back, relax, and enjoy this wild show that we have for you today. So, for today's deck build and show, this is a pretty much no holds bars kind of build. I was given no restriction other than make this really, really mean, really painful, really, really hurt. This was a deck that I alluded to earlier in the week in my actual post. Um, this was requested of me by a local player from my local game store. It is not quite CEDH, but it is very, very powerful, very, very strong, and well, taboo in the world of Magic. He wanted something that is taboo. He wanted something to make people go, no, as soon as he sits down at the table. I don't know if he's ever actually going to get to play with the deck, but he wanted something that was as nasty as like a Turgid or, some of your other big bad decks that are in existence. He wanted something that when he sat down on the table, shuffled up, flipped over the commander, everybody went, oh, God, why? And he's just that way. So shout out to my local game store, Green Brothers Comics, for having such a good quality group of people that we can play Magic with. With that said, let's dive into this monstrosity, shall we? So we are going to look at one of the biggest taboos in Magic, land destruction. And that starts with Zozu the Punisher. So for one red, we get a 2/2 Goblin Warrior that says whenever a land enters the battlefield, Zozu the Punisher deals 2 damage to that land's controller. It is symmetrical, it hurts us too. But that's okay. We we gonna have a way to make people suffer. And that's the name of the game. So to start off, we also have 2 Planeswalkers. One of them is Chandra, Torch of Defiance. She has 4 abilities. And she is a 4 mana, 4 loyalty Planeswalker. I won't go over the fact that she's red. This is mono red. Everything in here is red. But let's read her abilities, shall we? So you can exile the top card of your library. You may cast that card. If you don't, she's going to deal 2 damage to each opponent. That's a +1. Oh, look, another +1 to add 2 red mana. So we can ramp for free and not have to worry about our little, lands coming into play or not. And then her -3, which we can do as soon as she comes in, she's going to deal 4 damage to a creature, so she can super lightning bolt something, basically. Super shock. And then her -7. You get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell. This emblem deals 5 damage to any target. I don't believe the ultimate, the -7, is what we're really going to care about. What we actually might care the most about is her +1 to add 2 mana, or her +1 to give us more card selection. The -3 could come in handy with certain creatures, but predominantly I think we're going to use the pluses. There may be a world where you use the ultimate -7, but I personally don't think so. Our other Planeswalker is Koth, the Fire of Resistance. Again, a 4 mana, 4 loyalty Planeswalker. He only has 3 abilities, so whew, man. So for 2 mana, for a +2, we're gonna search our library for a basic mountain card, reveal it, and put it into our hand. So when, not if, when we blow up the world and have the earth on fire, with our Planeswalker here, we can still, go find our land and make our land drops. Even if it does hurt us. His -3, sorry, I have the window open. It's a nice, pretty day out here. I like it when there's natural light and, actual airflow. So, excuse any background noise. It's a nice, pretty day. Sue me. But, anyways, his -3. He's going to deal damage to target creature equal to the number of mountains we control. So we can potentially kill something if we have enough land, which probably not, but that's okay. And then -7, you get an emblem with whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, this emblem deals 4 damage to any target. Excuse me. So, if we can keep him alive -7, and then keep him alive. We can always make our land drop. Always drop a land. We might get hurt with Zozu if he's out. We might not, and then just start dealing 4 damage to everybody and everything. That could be kind of fun. We are running a very light creature sweep with only 6 creatures. Only 6. And I'm on a red deck. We are truly about burning and setting the world on fire, y'all. So we'll start with the Iron Mirror since it was already highlighted. It's a little 2-drop. Add 1 mana add mana of any colors. Add a mountain to our mana pool. And we also have the Simian Spirit Guide, which we can just exile from our hand to add a mana. So could potentially get our commander out turn 2, maybe turn 1 with the, God Hand, and just watch everybody suffer until they have like some kind of spot removal, which is pretty likely, but I don't think they were planning on having it that fast. Cemetery Gatekeeper is a wonderful 2 mana 2/1 vampire with first strike. Could matter. He says whenever he enters, exile a card from a graveyard. And then whenever a player plays a land or casts a spell, if it shares a card type with the exiled card, he's going to deal damage to that player. So if we exile a creature, every time you play your creatures, you're going to get a shock to the face. Nice. Doesn't hurt us too much. We don't really have a lot of creatures, as you can tell. We also have O'Hare, Oxenil Deepest Might. So he's a legendary god from the Ixalan set. He's 4 mana for a 4/4. If a red source control would deal damage, an amount of non-combat damage less than O'Hare's power to an opponent, that source deals damage equal to O'Hare's power instead. And if he dies, he becomes a land and you can flip him back. So instead of taking 2 from every land that you play, you could take 4 from every land that you play. Oopsies. Everybody hurts. Sulfin Mayhem Dominus. A legendary Phyrexian horror for 4 mana. We're pretty top heavy on our 4 mana spot, not gonna lie. But he's a 5/4, and if a source control will deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage to that player or permanent instead. We can make it indestructible by paying a Phyrexian, discarding 2 cards, and put an indestructible counter on it. Potentially we could do that. So we have the potential to deal some serious damage with this card out in O'Hare. So things could get pretty brutal pretty fast. Stoneshaker Shaman is just hilarious. At the end of each player's turn, that player sacrifices an untapped land. So all you blue players, I don't think so. Not in this house. We gonna burn this house. We run 13 sorceries, and some of them are pretty big heaters. There's the Wheel of Fortune. Expensive, not really necessary for the deck per se. So if you were trying to build this on kind of a oh crap, more of a budget-friendly kind of build, there's some things you could cut. This would probably be one of them. I could make a budget version of the deck if you would like me to. Just let me know. But in the meantime, let's go over our sorceries. We have Gamble to go 2 for something. From the Ashes allows us to destroy all non-basic lands, and then for each land destroyed this way, its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield. Then they get to shuffle. Oh, did I mention with our commander out, you get damage for all that too? Oh. Vandal Blast to obliterate our opponent's artifacts and just cripple them even more. Crumble makes everybody sacrifice a land. Faithless Looting, everybody knows you get to draw 2 if you discard 2. It also has Flashback. There's Epicenter. So for 5 mana, target player sacks a land. And then if it has Threshold, which is we have to have 7 or more cards in our graveyard when we play this, all players sack all lands instead. Tectonic Break for red X. Each player sacrifices X lands, where X is however much we put into it. Chain Reaction deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield, so it's just a board wipe, as well as Blasphemous Act. Jessica's Will gives us mana for every card in our opponent's hands, which we're hoping they're going to have a lot of because there's going to be no lands to play anything. And if we have our commander out, we can exile top 3 cards from our library and play them until the end of this turn. Ruination, great reprint. So destroy all non-basic lands. So anybody who has a very greedy mana base, this is going to basically cripple them. And then of course there's Wildfire. Each player has to sacrifice 4 lands and deals 4 damage to each creature. Yes, it kills our commander, but no, we don't care. Moving on to the instance package, we have a Braid to deal 3 damage to something that's a creature or destroy an artifact, as well as the Lightning Bolt. We're running a couple of ways to interact with our opponents with Pyroblast, Elemental Blast, Untimely Malfunction, and Tibbolt's Victory. We have some what we call ritual effects, which is Desperate Ritual and Seething Song to help ramp really, really fast. Deflecting Swat also is in there to kind of, well, deflect things that we don't want. For card draw, we're running Demand Answers, Thrill of Possibility, The Big Score, Unexpected Windfall, and Follicute Awakening, which can also be played as a land if we need it to. So a pretty standard set of mono red interactive pieces and some card draw that you're seeing here. Pretty simple, pretty standard. This is where things get a little crazy with the artifact package. So we have the Ankh of Mishra. It's a 2-mana artifact that says whenever a land comes into play, this is going to deal 2 damage to that land's controller. It's another one of our commander, basically. The Basilisk Caller allows our creature to have Death Touch and Life Link, so we can gain life every time we're dishing out this damage, meaning we could actually be neutral in this. The Crucible of Worlds, so every time we blow up our lands, as long as this is out, we're able to get them right back. Shadow Spear is another way to give our commander lifelink, so we can neutralize that effect of him pinging us. And finally, there's the Dingus Egg, which whenever a land is put into a graveyard from play, this deals 2 damage to that land's controller. So not only are you taking damage when lands come into play, you're taking them when I blow them up. Yeah, that's a horrible thing. As a good old JR from the WWE would say, "My God!" So we are running some of the higher end mana rocks with Mana Vault, Lotus Petal, Curl Mox, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, as well as we're running a Ruby Medallion. We have Prismatic Lens, Liquid Metal Torque, Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Mind Stone, Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bubble, Thought Vessel. And to round out the artifact package, we have the Endless Atlas, which is just 2, and then for 2 tap, we can draw a card, activate only if we control 3 or more lands with the same name. We're mono red, we should be able to do that fairly well. And just when you thought this is done, we're over, right? No. No, I'm not done making people suffer with this deck. We are in fact being this toxic. We are running a Blood Moon in the deck, so we are going to turn everybody's non-basic lands into mountains. We have Tectonic Instability, so whenever a land comes into play, tap all lands its controller controls. So if you're going to play that land, you better be ready to cast spells because all of them are going to be tapped. You're going to have floating mana. This is an interesting one. It's from the new Aether Drift set. It seems really, really good here. So at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. This allows us to help make sure we are making our land drops after we've already blown up the world, and kind of stay ahead of everybody a little bit. Impending Disaster is a wonderful 2-drop mono red enchantment that says during your upkeep, if there are 7 or more lands in play, you get to sacrifice this, and when you do, destroy all lands. Oopsie daisy. The Price of Glory. I love this card. It hoses all blue decks. Anybody that runs interaction, this deck is built to punish. This deck is built to make people suffer. That is what he wanted. That is what he asked of me, and that is what I'm doing. And this card does that. So if you've never seen the Price of Glory, this is what it is. It's a 3-mana enchantment. And it says whenever a player taps a land for mana during another player's turn, destroy that land. Yes. We also have Stranglehold. Your opponents can't search their libraries. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. So we're shutting down blue decks heavily with this. I don't think so. No. You're not in any kind of black deck. No. We're not tutoring. We're not casting spells on everybody's turn. And we're not going to take extra turns. We are just no. Hard no. Firm no. Just no. We also run Sulfur Vortex. So for 1 red at the beginning of each player's upkeep, it's going to deal 2 damage to that player. And then if a player would gain life, that player gains no life instead. This wraps up the enchantment package that we have here for this deck. And this is a brutal card when you already are denying land resource capability, you're denying artifact capability, you're clearing the board constantly. This is just an absolute travesty to have to sit here and fight. And then if you somehow get up off the ground, this card says, oh, you wanting to gain life? Too bad. Oh, sad. I think not. Yes, it hurts us too, but hey, maybe it's more incentive for nobody to get rid of it. We can't gain the life either. We're suffering with you. This is just a win-win. Either they get rid of it or they don't. Our land package is pretty straightforward, running a couple of fetches with the Fable Passage and Prismatic Lens. It doesn't hurt to be able to shuffle and whatnot. Wander's Enclave is something I might actually swap out of here for like another basic mountain or something. I haven't quite decided. We don't really have a whole lot of things to power 4 or greater. Ancient Tomb, I mean, it's Ancient Tomb. It ramps like a train. A whole bunch of basic mountains. Reliquary Tower, so we have no max hand size. Command Tower and Exotic Orchard, just to kind of keep people on their toes. It's not really necessary. You could probably put just basic mountains in and be just fine. Darksteel Citadel, because it is hilarious. It is an indestructible artifact land that just poo-poos on everybody's day. And then we're getting really nasty with a Strip Mine and Wasteland to be able to blow up lands at will. And finally, we have an Urza Saga. And everybody should know what Urza Saga does, but if you don't, it's a enchantment land. It does count for a land drop, and you can play it turn 1 for a land, because when it enters, and after your draw step, you're going to put a lore counter on it, and you sacrifice it at the end of the 3rd chapter. And it says, as it comes into play, it'll be on chapter 1, which means it could tap for a mana. Great. If after your draw step, it goes to chapter 2, and now it can make a construct for you, where its power and toughness are each equal to the number of artifacts you control. Might be relevant, might not, I don't know, it depends on the gameplay, game state. And then its final chapter is you yeet it to the graveyard and search your library for an artifact with mana cost 0 or 1 and put it straight onto the battlefield. So, potentially late game, you could use that to go find your Mana Vault, your Mox Diamond, I mean, even your Soul Ring, whatever you thought about you need. I mean, you could get Basilisk Collar, you could get Shadow Spear. It has a lot of potential. It could do some pretty nasty things. As you could tell, this deck is built to hurt and punish people. That's what I want to do with this build. I want people to suffer, to be in pain, to writhe in agony. It makes me so happy. It makes me just so happy to see people see this on the battlefield and just go, oh, God, why? Why? As you can tell from our opening hand, we're pretty good at having mana in the opening hand. I mean, Zozu's not coming out anytime soon, so that's kind of a problem. Oops, don't want to playtest it. Bad. Yeah, I want to leave. Bad. Yeah, I guess to scroll all the way back down. So I was trying to go back up for a second and show you our mana curve. We're actually pretty high on our 2 drops, 3 drops, decently on our 4s, and then we trail off. So we're not as bad as I thought we were. The average mana cost of this deck is still really, really high. I actually kind of like this hand. This hand's a little bit better. We can get Zozu out pretty quick. We can have Deflecting Swat out to protect him. Ruination would allow us to just, at any point in time, wreck everybody's day. Oh yeah, we would have had a fun time with this hand. This hand would have been fun. I don't know, this hand's kind of the same thing. Oh, turn one draw right there, just made that a bomb. Good lord. But yeah, this is kind of a quickie build of Zozu the Punisher. I don't know how well it actually is in playtest. I haven't actually built a Zozu deck before, like in paper, in person, mainly because it draws a lot of hate, and I don't like being hated on more than I already do. But at least then it's for good reason. And I mean, this would be for good reason too. I mean, you're doing taboo, guys. You're blowing up people's lands. People don't like when you blow up them. They don't like that. Don't make this work. But this is a literal Punisher deck. I designed this to just make everybody miserable. It has powerful cards in it. Can it actually do something? It's a completely different story. I'm not going to sit here and say this thing's going to kick somebody's teeth in, because I really don't know. I mean, I didn't even put a one ring in here, and it could be in here. I mean, good lord. I didn't even think about adding a one ring, and that alone could make this deck even more scary. So, it has a lot of potential. It has wiggle room. You could cut some of these cards. You could make it more budget friendly, I think. And you could say screw it to the budget and make it 10 times meaner than it actually is. Choice is yours. Choice is all yours. But I will say, $1,600, $1,700, basically rounded up, for this deck is really, really up there. But it's because of a lot of pieces like Dominus here. I mean, predominantly it's the wheel and the mod. It's like $900, $800 or so. So without those, I mean, it's a little bit. It's still high. It's still pricey. Don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit more doable without those two cards in here, for sure, for sure. So this is Zozu the Punisher. This is land destruction. This is chaotic mess, burning the earth. I want to see the world suffer. So let me know what you think. I already know. I can already hear the comments. I can already feel you guys staring at me. Why did you do this? What is wrong with you, Buddha Dragon? And I'm just going to tell you, I thought it was a fun challenge, and I thought it'd be fun to do, so I did it. Oops. But let me know in the comments below. Just feel free to leave me a comment on what deck would you like to see built next? What deck would you like to see a video deck tech on that you kind of want a different angle on, or anything like that? I'm open to it. I have no problem taking suggestions. I'm still working on making the channel grow. So if you have ideas for the channel, please feel free, spin them at me, throw them at me. Let's see what we can make happen. Last but not least, please don't forget, like, share, subscribe, ring that bell for notification. I appreciate all of you that have shown me all this love and attention. Please don't stop, and I will continue to be here for you. With all that said, I have been the Buddha Dragon. Rub that belly for mana, and may your games be filled with luck. Peace out.